All right, Trump pulls off a miracle in the Middle East. Let's check it out. Welcome to Rob Schmitt Tonight. A reminder today of what is possible in a world that is not led by career politicians. The hostages are home. The war between Israel and Hamas is over. What happened today is something that would have never happened had we another president, especially Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, in the White House. Tonight we have Arabs inside Gaza and Jews inside Israel, both cheering for the same American president. Think of how hard that is to achieve. Groups of people who absolutely loathe each other are cheering for the same foreign leader. It is a spectacular political accomplishment, but more importantly, 20 people who have somehow survived in hell for the past 2 years are free and are back home tonight. Damn, that's something, isn't it? To watch that all day. Trump speaking to Israel's elected leaders early this morning before heading to Egypt for a Middle East peace summit today. What a day he had to officially sign the deal to end the war in Gaza and start the process for what comes next. Who will govern 2 million Palestinians, a group of people who cannot govern themselves? The president talked about what the future needs to look like for the Palestinians, focusing on a life for themselves rather than focusing on hatred for others.
And the choice for Palestinians could not be more clear. This is their chance to turn forever from the path of terror and violence. It's been extreme, to exile the wicked forces of hate that are in their midst. After tremendous pain and death and hardship, now is the time to concentrate on building their people up instead of trying to tear Israel down. And the total focus of Gazans must be on restoring the fundamentals of stability, safety, dignity, and economic development so they can finally have the better life that their children really do deserve. I intend to be a partner in this effort in the sense that we're going to help.
There's going to be a lot to watch. A partnership to end the indoctrination of these people, which, of course, has started in grade school with Hamas in charge, taught to hate, taught to kill. A new life starts now. But that opportunity comes with heavy surveillance and will come with heavy oversight as well. Never again can Gaza be given enough autonomy to flourish into a terrorist state. The complexity of this achievement also needs to be pointed out tonight. Today, a terror group willingly gave up all of its abducted hostages, just handed them over. Its only leverage, handed right over. Because this White House understood that what none before it could even figure out. The negotiation was never with Hamas. You're never going to get anywhere negotiating with Hamas. They're just going to play games. It's never going to end. The negotiation was with the rest of the Arab world. Trump neutralized Iran, wiping out its nuclear program, giving more sophisticated Arab nations control of the region, nations that he had built relationships with. It then became more simple after that. Apply pressure and the hope for greater wealth and prosperity. The Abraham Accords, trade, money, what that means for these countries. The reason why this peace has a good chance of sustaining, because it's wrapped up in finances and money and a better life for everybody involved. Money, wealth, business. These are Trump's strong suit. He is an outside-the-box thinker. Here's more.
This is not only the end of a war. This is the end of an age of terror and death and the beginning of the age of faith and hope and of God. It's the start of a grand concord and lasting harmony for Israel and all the nations of what will soon be a truly magnificent region. I've heard for years this is the biggest deal. It'll never happen. The Middle East, it's the biggest, most complicated deal. And also it's the place that could lead to tremendous problems like World War III. They always talked about World War III would start in the Middle East. And that's not going to happen.
Just a list of the various conflicts that this man has ended since his first term. I mean, look at all of the nations on this list, including, this does include general peace agreements that are in the Abraham Accords, but what an amazing list. Rwanda, Congo, Thailand, Cambodia, Egypt, Ethiopia, India, Pakistan, Israel, Gaza, on and on, Serbia, Kosovo. Imagine the jealousy from Biden's foreign policy team, which watched the entire world explode during its 4 years. Think of the incompetence of these people. His Secretary of State, probably the most humiliating Secretary of State this country has ever had, Tony Blinken, spineless, is now trying to take credit for this, and it is priceless, saying Trump simply used a plan that he and Biden developed and then left for Trump. Are you serious, Tony Blinken? He said it with a straight face. What was it? Make everybody stop shooting so we can live in peace? That's about as complex as Tony's plan could have gotten. The plan was never that difficult, right? You want peace in the region. Implementation of it is the hard part, and that has been seen as impossible until today. This has happened because Trump found the pressure points, neutralized Iran, flexed his power over the rest of the region, including flexing on Israel quite a bit. Trump reacting on the plane as he went in to Blinken's ridiculous claim.
This was bad policy by Biden and by Obama. Remember when Bibi came and he begged that you not do what they were doing with Iran? You remember that, right? Begged them. And they wouldn't even listen to him. Everything they did was the opposite what you should have done. And it's nice that they try and take a little credit.
If they woulda, they coulda. If they coulda, they woulda, I should say. They didn't have a plan. If they had a plan, they would have tried to put it in place. For 4 years, they screwed around, or for 2 years anyways. How pathetic for the most incompetent administration in American history to try and steal this moment away. But of course they would. Everyone wants peace. It takes strength to get it, though, as we just learned. The world understands that now. Listen to the leader of nuclear-armed Pakistan, the 5th largest country in the world. Here's what he said today.
Peace has been achieved after untiring efforts. Efforts led by President Trump, who is genuinely a man of peace. Today, again, I would like to nominate this great president for Nobel Peace Prize. India and Pakistan are both nuclear powers. Had he not intervened along with his wonderful team, during those 4 days, the war could have escalated to a level. Who would have lived to tell what happened?
India and Pakistan, 2 of the biggest countries in the world, 2 of the top 5 biggest countries in the world, both armed with nuclear weapons. Can't forget about that one either. Rick Grenell is the presidential envoy for special missions and joins us tonight. Rick, good to see you. You're a diplomat. You know this game. How impressive is this accomplishment in your world?
Well, first of all, let me give you a little perspective. Just out of college, I started working in political jobs. 1992 is when I started. I went to the UN in 2001. I spent 8 years at the UN. This is an issue that we have talked about nonstop. And I can tell you that every Arab country has brought it up in every single diplomatic meeting we've ever had. They believe that the fundamental problem was the Palestinian issues with Israel. It is literally the #1 issue we've talked about. For Donald Trump to solve this issue is just enormous. I hope people understand what just happened today. I was gripped all day long. You don't have to speak Hebrew to understand the emotions of what was going on. Donald Trump is the only person in the world that could have done this, and he did this. This will solidify him in history as the greatest president of modern times. This is a moment that I hope everybody understands just didn't happen overnight. This is something that Donald Trump worked on in his first term. Jared Kushner, Steve Witkoff worked on this issue nonstop, the entire team, Marco Rubio. You just literally have Donald Trump's entire cabinet working nonstop together. And this is one of those things that credibility, Donald Trump's credibility, is key. You don't get wins like this unless you literally have the power to use it. And his power of persuasion is unlike anyone else. He is the greatest deal maker.
What's so wild is that he's been probably the best friend to Israel that Israel could have ever asked for, and then he still can have that credibility on the other side with these Arab nations, and then he can put it all together with the Abraham Accords. I mean, you'd think it would be one or the other, and for I think most people it would. To be able to play both sides, so beautifully, it's just amazing.
Look, I've watched President Trump up close, and this is what he does. He's very transparent. He pushes everyone involved to be better, and he's trying to be friends with everybody. I think he said it best today when he said, a lot of you in this room are my friends, and yet I'm pushing you to live in peace. And again, there's no one that could have done this. He's got such credibility, such power, such strength, and such grace to be able to do this.
It is impressive. Next step, equally as difficult, though. How do you, Rick, govern 2 million Palestinians who hate the Jews and also are going to live inside of the borders of Israel? How do you do that?
Well, look, Mahmoud Abbas, who's the leader of the Palestinians, was elected in 2005 to a 5-year term. We know that he has failed. His entire team has failed the Palestinian people. And so what you saw today from President Trump is bringing the entire region together. That is the key here. When you have a failed state, you absolutely have to have people around in the region come forward. And President Trump said it best. This is the wealthiest group of people we have in the world. More than 50% of the world's GDP was literally sitting together. And President Trump was saying, we are going to build Gaza. It's not even a rebuild. Remember, it is devastated, so you have to start over and build Gaza.
This is going to be very interesting. I mean, it's a heck of a first step, but it does get complicated with the idea of this two-state solution. I want to ask you a quick question before I let you go. The U.S. has ramped up its military presence in the Caribbean in recent weeks. President has called off diplomatic outreach to Venezuela, which was you. We've just watched a war end in the Middle East while hearing rumors inside the administration of some pushing for a new one and a regime change in Venezuela with Maduro. What can you tell us?
Well, I think the only thing that I'll say is that President Trump has always rightly been focused on the security of Americans. He will continue to be focused on the security of Americans and America's prosperity. And make no mistake, when he focuses on that, he will win. And so this is going to be another issue that Donald Trump will win on. You can add Venezuela to the long list. He will win on this issue.
The envoy for special missions, Rick Grenell. Good to see you again. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Rob. All the best.
Asra Nomani is a co-founder of Clarity Coalition, which is founded by moderate Muslims who are worried about Islamic extremism. Perfect person to talk to tonight. Asra, good to see you. Do you believe that this peace can hold, and how does it happen?
Just listening to your last segment, Rob, I was reminded of when I was literally a delegate representing the Palestinians in a model UN in 1982, trying to fight for peace in the Middle East. And so this is a historic moment. It's something, that is cannot be overstated, really. I never thought that in my lifetime I would see these Middle Eastern and Turkey also, willing to negotiate something that essentially allows for the existence of the state of Israel. That is fundamentally what is, at stake here. And I am really inspired by this moment that we have. And also, as you know too well, from what we've talked about, the challenge ahead is for all of those nations and their leaders who sat beside President Trump today in Egypt to disband, defund, and dismantle the networks of Islamic extremism that led to this moment. And that's the future that we need to see happen.
Are the Qataris willing to do that? I think there's a lot of concern with them, right? I mean, they housed the leadership of Hamas, some of the worst people in the world for all these years.
Right. And we had President Erdogan there from Turkey, and President Trump, framed him as a friend and an ally, but he is host also to a lot of these Muslim Brotherhood legacy organizations that practice this most extreme interpretation of Islam that fueled Hamas. And so Qatar, Turkey, Pakistan, are they going to do what they need to do and clean up their countries of this Islamic extremism so that the world can live in peace and so that Israel can?
And the carrot on that is prosperity, right? You're going to be wealthier. You can trade with Israel, which is a huge economy. You can trade with the West. We can bring you into the 21st century.
Yeah. Rob, why I love talking to you is because you are the son of an immigrant from Iran, and you know the freedom that America has allowed your mother, that allowed my mother to exist, prosper. My mom started a business on High Street in Morgantown, West Virginia. That is just on a personal level. Like, if we scale that economic prosperity, that is what every family wants. And that is what I believe President Trump's vision is to realize for the people in Gaza. And so these governments have to put aside their ideological mumbo jumbo that has allowed decades of extremism to fester and claim too many innocents. Because, Rob, while we celebrate all of these families being reunited, my heart goes to those families that got the bad news, right? That their loved ones weren't coming home.
Yeah, the cancer of Islamic extremism in this world. And this is a great moment as the president tries to squash it out. Hopefully there's success there. And he has a great method of trying to pull this off. Asra, thanks so much for coming on. Good to see you.
Thank you, Rob.
Appreciate it. As the left vilifies ICE and Border Patrol, the agencies are leaning into their tough, badass reputations. We've got that next with the CBP Chief Patrol Agent Greg Bovino. Stay tuned.
What's gold is new again. Pardon the pun. But considering gold has been used as currency since around 550 BC, it has been on fire the past year. I'm here with Daniel Boston, the founder of Preserve Gold. Why is gold so stable and such a good investment for many people?
Take the central bank, for example, the Federal Reserve. They print money out of thin air, and then they take that printed money to go buy hard assets like gold to protect themselves against the very risks that they're creating. So I always tell people, don't do what the big players are telling you to do. Do what they're doing themselves.
Yeah, watch what they're doing.
That's correct.
Okay. If people are interested in investing with Preserve Gold, how do they get started?
Text Newsmax to 50505 to get your free information and up to $15,000 in free gold and silver with a qualified purchase. That's right. Text Newsmax to 50505.
All right. No way you can miss it.
Think of all the places that could expose you to identity theft and financial loss. It only takes one mistake at your bank, hospital, or employer for a criminal to gain access to your personal information. And if they do, you and your money are at risk.
I thought I'd be the last person on earth this would happen to.
It was devastating. $110,000 of my hard-earned money gone.
1 in 3 U.S. consumers have been a victim of identity theft. Are you willing to risk your financial future? With LifeLock, if your identity is compromised, we'll step in and fix it so you don't have to. Guaranteed. Our dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialists handle your case from start to finish. They contact institutions on your behalf, dispute fraudulent charges, close compromised accounts, and even procure legal support, far beyond the capabilities of your bank or credit card company.
The bank didn't help me. The police department didn't help me. It was LifeLock who had my back on all this.
It was handled and taken care of. I didn't have to do anything.
In fact, we're so confident that restoration is guaranteed. Plus, LifeLock offers the $1 Million Protection Package with reimbursement up to $1 million for stolen funds, experts and lawyers, and out-of-pocket expenses, up to $3 million in total.
When I opened my mail and I had a check from LifeLock, I just started crying. They made me whole.
Act now to save 35% off an annual plan for your first year. Your membership includes identity monitoring and alerts, a dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialist, and the LifeLock $1 Million Protection Package. Don't face identity theft alone. Protect your future and finances with LifeLock, the leader in identity theft protection. Call 800-710-4645 or visit lifelock.com/get35 to get 35% off your first year.
This administration, led by a 34-time convicted felon, is threatening to jail people that are their political opponents. The fact that he's made a threat against me, I'm not afraid. I'm going to stand up for the people of my state. He does not have the power to overcome the Constitution. And so am I afraid? I am not afraid. Do I think that he could do it? He might. But as I've said before, come and get me.
Oh, he's loving this so much. He's loving the attention. The president, first off, is talking about jailing J.B. Pritzker because he's refusing the support of the federal government as the president tries to lower the number of dead black kids on the south side of Chicago every weekend. So there's the first part of the story, which is about as ridiculous as it gets, and J.B. Pritzker is certainly that. A humiliating governor in the state, the mayor of Chicago, not much better, Greg Bovino, is the CBP chief patrol agent in Chicago, and he joins us now to talk about all of this. Sir, you're on the ground there, and you guys are doing such difficult work because you're fighting not only the bad guys, but you've got the entire apparatus of media and politics coming at you with everything they have, which is just so bad and so un-American. How do you do this job?
Well, Rob, good evening, and thanks for having me.
Sure.
It's the men and women of the Border Patrol, ICE, and those allied law enforcement agencies that are out there every day doing that job. I'm amazed at what they do just to keep things running like that. But Rob, something else that we're seeing there on the ground is not just violence, but the type of violence. The lethality involved now is off the charts. It's something we've not really seen before. Back in Los Angeles and now in Chicago, we saw, perhaps assaults on Border Patrol agents and ICE officers, fisticuffs, objects being thrown. But now, on the ground, we're starting to see weapons involved.
Yeah.
We're seeing vehicles involved, a lot of different things involved. And I attribute that to what you said earlier, J.B. Pritzker and Mayor Johnson. Here we have the President of the United States in the Middle East brokering peace for the first time ever with Hamas terrorists. Yet here in the homeland, we have J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, and the mayor of Chicago fomenting the same type of violence here in the homeland as President Trump was stopping in the Middle East. I find that amazing.
We're going to just show a little video from Oregon from over the weekend of this nude protest. And I want to ask, as somebody I assume you've been doing this for a long time, and I know a lot of your officers have been doing this for 15, 20 years, and it goes back from before everything got so crazy in this country. I mean, there used to be general support among Americans, and especially on both sides of the political aisle, that you deport illegal immigrants in the country. And somehow that has just disappeared in the last 15 years. How disillusioning is it to someone like you that's been working in this business for a while to see all of a sudden you're being vilified, not just vilified, but at this capacity, the capacity to call you Nazis because you're just implementing basic immigration law?
Sure. Rob, I've been doing this for 3 decades now.
Yeah.
And what I'm seeing now is a rather small percentage of the American population that's resorting to extremism. I call them the weaker-minded individuals here that fall victim to that violent rhetoric of a J.B. Pritzker or a Johnson. They fall victim to that. And these politicians, whether it's politicians in Portland, Chicago, Los Angeles, Newsom does it, Mayor Bass does it, they fall victim to that rhetoric. And, those politicians feed that. Mm-hmm. That's what's disillusioning because there's no reason for it. What we're seeing in Chicago, 95% of the American citizens that we come into contact with support the mission. It's those 5% of those weaker-minded constituents that are being fed crazy talk by politicians that are causing all the trouble.
And they're making all the noise. You know, it is a very small subsection, but they put them on TV on blast every day because the media wants to perpetuate the idea that there's broad support against you. And it's just not the case. I don't believe it either. This is CBP Chief Patrol Agent Greg Bovino. Greg, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it, sir.
Thanks, Rob. Thank you.
Films are absolutely disappearing from Hollywood. They are fleeing California as Gavin Newsom tells us how great his state is. That's next.
Life moves fast. What if there was a fun way to stay balanced, calm, and focused in the middle of it all? Introducing the Gibbon Slackboard, the world's first slackline-based balance board. The Slackboard helps kids develop better coordination and makes it fun to get active.
Sometimes we pretend that we're surfing on it. I like to play games and have challenges with the family. It's hard, but it's really, really fun.
The Gibbon Slackboard is the perfect tool for improving balance, building strength, and finding your center. Improving your balance can help you focus, resulting in more productivity and better results. Falls are the #1 cause of injury for older adults. Balance training is an excellent way to reduce your risk of falling.
I really feel that the Slackboard is going to help improve my quality of life and just get a better balance under me to avoid any injuries that can happen as you get older.
Everyone wants an edge when it comes to performance. Improving your balance improves almost everything you do. Training on the Gibbon Slackboard can give you the physical and mental advantages you need to achieve your goals.
I've had knee injuries and ankle injuries from playing basketball. I use the board about twice per week, maybe 5 to 10 minutes tops. It really stabilizes all the joints, ligaments, and tendons that I have surrounding those parts of my body.
The Gibbon Slackboard comes ready to use out of the box. It goes where you go, so you can use it anytime on any floor. You can start right away with simple videos on the free Gibbon app. The Slackboard is the fun and effective way to bring better balance into your life, no matter your age, fitness level, or goals. Take the first step on your balance journey by going to gibbon-usa.com. Own your balance with the Gibbon Slackboard.
I lost 110 pounds. You couldn't tell at all because of my excess skin. Sono Bello changed that in one visit.
Introducing the new Lift EX, the just one visit, total body transformation everyone is talking about.
I am super happy with my results.
I decided to give Sono Bello a try. Look at me, I have a silhouette. You can see my waist.
Lift EX is Sono Bello's breakthrough 360-degree body lift alternative. Our body contouring experts sculpt, tighten, and lift your stomach, waist, thighs, and backside, all in just one visit with less downtime.
Sono Bello targeted the areas diet exercise could not do. I found me again.
Sono Bello has over 50,000 five-star reviews, and Lift EX is exclusively available at Sono Bello, America's #1 cosmetic surgery specialist. Book your free, personalized consultation today. Easy monthly plans make your best body more affordable than ever.
This year is my year thanks to Sono Bello.
Call Sono Bello for your free consultation today.
Welcome back. As Gavin Newsom tells us just how strong California is as he runs for president in 3 years, the Wall Street Journal reporting only 100,000 people were employed in motion picture industry in Los Angeles County last year. Data firm ProdPro revealing the number of movies and TV shows with huge budgets over $40 million filming in the U.S. is down 30% from 2022. Hollywood's big slump, movies, everything leaving California as fast as it can, getting to places with better tax incentives, cheaper. That slump contributing greatly to LA's broader economic challenges. 5.7% unemployment rate, LA County, much higher than the national average. But whenever Gavin Newsom gets hammered with stories like this, he's very well media trained. He's very smart about this. He talks about the size and scope of California's economy and compares it to red states.
Now the fourth largest economy in the world. We dominate in every major industry.
The tentpole of the U.S. economy, 14% of the U.S. GDP.
People from all around the world want to come and live their lives out loud here in California.
So he's got a very clever thing he does here to get out of jail quickly for his biggest liability. He talks about the fact that he's running California, but he's running it into the ground while he's trying to be the next president. The truth is, these blue states that hold our largest economic engines, California, New York, Illinois, These states and those engines were built long before the policies of people like Gavin Newsom. And yet, as they run their states into the ground, their leaders can claim that they're responsible for the success of these states. But in truth, what success is left exists in spite of them, not because of them. And we hear these same talking points every time. You hear it from Pritzker, from Newsom, Hochul, everyone else. Katie Zacharia, Steve Hilton both join us now. Both California people. Good to have you both. Steve, I love it when he spins to that and he talks about how we've got the 7th largest economy and all these things that he didn't create. That state would be so much stronger if he would get the hell out of the way.
100%. Look, it's actually the 4th biggest economy in the world, but Newsom keeps talking about the size of this and the size of that in California. We're the biggest state with the largest population. Of course, we're going to be the biggest, but look at the proportion, the rates. We right now, it's not just LA, as you said, we have the highest unemployment rate in the country, the highest poverty rate in the country, the highest taxes, the highest cost for housing, rent, gas, electric, everything. And you specifically about Los Angeles and the film industry, the reason the production is leaving LA is the same reason it's a nightmare for doing business anywhere in California. Yeah. And we have the worst business climate in America. The unions that make it impossible to do anything efficiently, the taxes, the housing costs. It's so expensive to live in Los Angeles, so you've got to pay crew more, you've got to pay everyone more. Those same things that are driving every other business out of LA is driving the industry out that made LA famous. Another story just recently said Los Angeles could be the next Detroit. I mean, that's how bad it's got under Newsom.
Katie, you're a Southern California girl, and I know a lot of people there too. I have heard that the business, the show business, Hollywood filming, all of the TV shows, everything like that, it is absolutely disappeared. Is it as dramatic as I've heard from here in New York?
No, it's not. And this is really a symptom. Yes, it's the problem of California and the tax environment, but it's also a problem of the symptom. Hollywood is not getting the message from the American people. Their woke indoctrination being shoved down the throats of every American citizen is not selling anymore, and they're not picking it up. Look, you have some movies that are not woke, that are, you had Maverick. Let's just go to an all-American classic movie. Blockbuster hit, everyone loved it. Hollywood is so out of touch. In California, Gavin Newsom is running the film industry into the ground. He said, I'm going to give tax incentives or this and that. And it's actually not addressing the underlying issues. President Trump wants the 100% tariff on Hollywood films or films that are being made out of the U.S., and that needs to be coupled with tax incentives because these filmmakers are not able to actually make money on their films anymore. Yeah. So hopefully this drives an incentive to actually curate content that fits for American people.
Steve, I have 10 literal seconds left. You get the job. You're the governor. You bringing back these incentives? Are they going to start making movies in Southern California again?
Yes, because when I'm governor, we're going to cut the bloat, the taxes, the red tape. We're going to make California a boom state again, where people are moving here to create dreams and the businesses of the future instead of leaving, which is what they're doing right now.
I love it. Steve Hilton, Katie Zacharia, thanks so much, guys. Good to see you.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
All right, so as we see pretty much every year, the war on Columbus Day, again, has this latest iteration as President Trump actually is trying to fight off another annoying crusade of the woke left, which is Indigenous Peoples Day, right? Toppling Christopher Columbus statues we've seen over the years, vandalizing monuments. This is the exact kind of cultural nonsense that Trump loves to jump into the middle of with common sense, because it's another 90-10 issue, right? How many people actually want to change Columbus Day into Indigenous Peoples Day? Not that many. As the woke have spent years ripping down statues of a great world explorer. Take a listen to this.
This is a particularly important holiday for Italian Americans who celebrate the legacy of Christopher Columbus and the innovation and explorer zeal that he represented.
Columbus Day. We're back. Columbus Day, we're back, Italians. We love the Italians.
There you go. Comedian Joe Piscopo is an Italian man, if you couldn't tell by his suit.
Good to see you,
sir.
Go ahead. Great to see you, man.
What are your thoughts? I mean, we go through this every year, and it's always annoying every year. And then they canceled the parade this year here in New York. Right?
Unbelievable. We own it, though. This is the Italians' time, and we own it. And it's about time. You know, I've been doing the parade for almost 21 years, about 21 years, you know. Yeah. And I have to tell you, if I may, about that hit with the president, because I invited him on my show in April, and he came on the show, and he said, and I just happened to ask, because it was a moment, and I was asked by the Italians in Washington to invite the president to the 50th anniversary of the National Italian American Foundation. So that's the question that came out first, Rob, to the president. I've known him 100 years, but still, it's with respect. He's the president. Hey, President Trump, you know you're invited to the NIAF. It was like a geeky thing that came out. And he goes, you know, Joe, the Italians, I love the Italians. We love the Italians. He goes, we got to have Columbus Day. Rob, that's April. The man doesn't forget. And I have to tell you, on behalf of the Italian-American community, how much we appreciate President Trump stepping up in a big way and signing that proclamation. It was huge. It was huge.
You know, you hear these people. It's funny to me because there's so much hypocrisy in what they say. They're all open border maniacs. And at the same breath, they talk about how this is stolen land. If there's no borders, what the hell was stolen? You know, it's like there's two sides of the same thing here. They make no sense.
Like they said, Columbus is the only immigrant that they don't like. You know?
Exactly.
But I came up with Rob. It's good to see you. We got a mutual friend. I told you before we went on the air, and he loves you. I had a full day. It's Columbus Day. A full day. I've been up since 4 in the morning, radio, television, everything. What do they put me up against? The best looking guy in television, Rob Schmitt. I look like a Mama Luke over here, for crying out loud. Look at you.
Get out of here.
Look at you.
Well,
here we go. I'm holding up all right.
No, it looks great. Your suit game is far superior to mine. I will give you that right now. There's no question there. I want to play one for you from because Kamala Harris is trying to make a little bit of a comeback here.
Oh, boy.
We're very lucky she's not the president now. She's going to try it again, though, we think. Take a listen to this from 2021.
Okay.
It is an honor, of course, to be with you this week as we celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day. Those explorers ushered in a wave of devastation for tribal nations, perpetrating violence, stealing land, and spreading disease. We must not shy away from this shameful past.
Judging people 500-600 years ago based on today's virtues and our tastes, right? This is what they do best.
Yeah, Columbus discovered America. This was one of the boldest moves that Christopher Columbus did, because it's the current day equivalent, as they say, to landing on the moon. This was a brave man and a great man. And if you study, like one of my kids said, you know, they're kind of saying bad things about Columbus. I said, that's old news. We're Italians. We're proud to be Italians. And if you study it, you could see that Columbus wasn't the guy. He adopted one of the tribes. He adopted the tribes. He kept the tribes from killing each other. There was cannibalism, and Columbus stopped it. They ship them out. Somebody else comes in. Columbus gets the blame. The history is wrong. But I have to tell you, and thank you for allowing me to pontificate just a little bit, because it's about my mother, who I lost a couple years ago, rest her soul, my dad, who I lost longer than that, man. And I'm telling you what, it's about our grandparents. They come from Italy. They come here. They learn the language. They learn the laws. They wanted to be one thing. Rob, they wanted to be American. And that's what today was about. So listen, they canceled the parade, you know. Was that political, not political? But I'm telling you, we were at the Columbus Citizens Foundation all day, and we're telling everybody how great the Italians are. I had 4 hours on the radio this morning to do it, and then I jumped on ABC 7 to shout out to ABC for covering it. And then this weekend with Maria Bartiromo, we're doing a whole big thing with the National Italian American Foundation.
It's a big week.
It's our responsibility to respect what our parents and grandparents did. Sometimes I go, if I may, to my father's grave in Madison, New Jersey, my grandfather's grave, Vitaliano Spizio, you know, and I sit there, and he died like in 1905. What did he go through? How did he get here? Right. You know, and you think about it and you feel it. That's the core of America, my brother. That's the core of America.
Joe Piscopo.
Thanks.
Good to see you, sir. Thanks for coming.
Brother. Thank you, sir.
All right. Incredible moments earlier today for this Trump White House. The hostages are free. So how do you manage 2 million people that can't govern themselves? Conversation about that coming up.
It's about political
points. People deserve better fiscal.
It's terrible. Politics seeps into everything.
What do you mean? Talk about climate change or the economy or, of course, elections.
You can't find out what we should really expect to happen.
But of course you can.
Go to IBKR's Forecast Trader.
Put your money where your mouth is.
Ransomware scares me.
Cyberman to the rescue. PCmatic blocks the ransomware that hijacks your computer and your data, then demands a ransom.
Hackers are terrifying.
Hackers are always spying on your computer. PCmatic's VPN stops hacking.
My computer is slow.
PCmatic makes your computer faster. PCmatic is made in America and protects homes, businesses, and governments.
Thank you, Cyberman. Go to PCmatic.com.
My name is Mike Hammond, founder of Signal Relief. Much of my career has been working in construction, and I love the outdoors and horses. That active lifestyle is what has caused my body to hurt. I didn't want to let this affect my family or my life, and that's what motivated me to create a team to build the Signal Relief patch. Clinically shown that over 85% felt relief in just 72 hours, with almost half feeling significant relief in just 15 minutes. It's drug-free, reusable, and it comes with a money-back guarantee. Whether it's your neck, back, knee, shoulder, or just aches and pains, this patch can give you your life back. When I gave my best friend a patch with tears in his eyes, he said it was the first time in 16 years he did not hurt. Join the hundreds of thousands who found relief. I'm asking you to try the Signal Relief patch today by going to our website. If you're thinking about buying, it means you need one. You have nothing to lose. I promise the patch works.
Vehicle breakdowns are costly, but with Endurance, you could never pay out of pocket for a costly repair again.
They covered a $14,000 engine replacement.
Call right now to get $300 off any plan. Call now.
The flu season is here again. You can take your chances with a flu shot, or you can be prepared at home. Here's Dr. Peter McCullough to explain.
My advice is be prepared with a contagion emergency kit. When you get hit with a seasonal flu or other virus, hours count. Early intervention is your best line of defense. Your kit contains essential prescriptions to treat influenza A and B, pneumonia, bronchitis, sinus and ear infections, and other life-threatening illnesses. When symptoms strike, check your guidebook or contact one of our licensed providers. Take your medication and feel better faster. It's like having an urgent care and pharmacy in your own home.
Be prepared for any seasonal flu with a contagion emergency kit. Order online in minutes and save $50. Plus, you'll receive a free medical-grade nebulizer. Visit preparedagain.com/go. Promo code GO. That's preparedagain.com/go. Promo code GO.
This is the first time the Middle East crisis has brought people together. This incredible, historic breakthrough. We will reach the Middle East's incredible destiny. I just want to thank everybody for being here. This is going to be the greatest deal of them all, not just nation building.
Something else. Back to the historic day that we saw today. A lot of it happening this morning. Just incredible stuff. All the living hostages are freed. Some of that video was just amazing. And phase 2, working on reconstruction of Gaza, the president says is already underway. That's how fast he moves. The question arises, though, who is going to govern? Like 2 million people that clearly can't govern themselves. Trump's former deputy national security advisor, KT McFarland, joins us now, and good to see you, KT. What do you think of, I mean, it's a very complex answer to this, and I think they're trying to figure it out right now, but you've got 2 million people that hate the Jews that are going to live right next to the Jews. So this is the two-state solution that we've long mocked. But there must be some way to do it. If you can keep the government and you can keep the weapons away, it might be possible, right?
Yeah, the one group that's not going to be part of the new government is Hamas.
Yeah.
Not only do they have to lay down their weapons, they are banned from participating in any new government. Now, would that hold? Probably not. But guess who's enforcing it? All the countries in the region. And what you saw today, hour after hour, was every country in the world, certainly all the Muslim countries, were on one side of the issue, and that was for peace. They agreed with Israel, and in effect, the 20-point peace plan throws Hamas under the bus. They have all severed their ties with Hamas, from Egypt to the Saudis to Qatar to every other country. Hamas is now alone, isolated, and broke. Now, it doesn't mean that they go quietly into this good night. They may decide to go down as martyrs and fight, but they have no financial support, no political support, no military support.
Some of the brilliance of it was that they knew that there was this itching inside of these other Arab nations to get rid of this as the status quo, to just have these miserable people in Gaza starving and dying, that they were just, that it was almost like they knew that if you got Iran out of the way, that the rest of the sophisticated Arab world didn't want to live this way forever.
You know, this is going to be taught in diplomacy courses for the next 100 years. How did Donald Trump do it? He started 8 years ago by paying attention to the younger generation of Gulf Arab leaders, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and others, and he helped them assume leadership in their countries. So they trusted him. It's the first time anybody's trusted anybody in the Middle East. And so then because they trusted him, they went along with Trump's push for peace. And as you point out, Iran's finished, right? Iran has no economy. All of its proxies have been disseminated, decapitated. So there's nobody to support Hamas now. No money, no diplomacy, no military, no nothing. But the key to it all is that Hamas is now separated from the Palestinian people. And the Palestinian people themselves, they're looking forward to the day after, which is the countries in the region are going to pay money and protect the people of Gaza.
20 seconds left, but it's interesting that Trump today was hinting at, perhaps a deal with Iran in its very weakened state. I think there's a lot of people out there that would like to see Iran to continue to get weaker, and perhaps from inside the regime would fall. Trump might be saving that if he cuts a deal with them now, which I'm not sure I like that idea.
Well, if a deal is to be cut, it's going to be cut on Donald Trump's terms.
Yeah.
And so we'll see what happens. Do the mullahs want to stay in power? If they do, they're going to have to cut a deal on Donald Trump's terms. If they don't want to stay in power, well, we'll see what happens to them. It's probably the same thing that happened to their nuclear program. They won't be around to govern and dictate to their people. Neither is Bashar al-Assad, and neither is Hamas.
It's interesting. KT, good to see you. Thanks so much.
Great. Thank you so much.
All right. CNN's Christiane Amanpour, big-time propagandist for the globalist left, catching heat for claiming that Israeli hostages were likely treated better than Gazan civilians. We're going to play that part first, and then we're going to show you her quick apology after she caught some hell for this. Take a look.
It's been a terrible, terrible 2 years for them, because not only are they there, they're probably being treated better than the average Gazan because they are the pawns and the chips that Hamas had. That was insensitive and it was wrong. From speaking to many former hostages and their families, like everyone, I've been horrified at what Hamas has subjected them to over 2 long years. They've told me, as you've just heard, their stories of barely being able to breathe in the tunnels, not being allowed to cry, being starved and made to dig their own graves. And of course, today, some of the hostages are coming back in body bags.
Yeah, we know where Christiane's politics lie on this issue, I think. All right, a backhanded compliment for Kamala coming up.
Do you think that Kamala Harris would be a strong candidate in 2028?
Candidate, yeah, absolutely.
You'll find them in cities, towns, and suburbs all across America. Millions of people who have Medicare and Medicaid, but may be missing benefits they could really use. Extra benefits they may be eligible to receive at no extra cost. And if you have Medicare and Medicaid, you may be able to get extra benefits too through a Humana Medicare Advantage dual-eligible special needs plan. These plans have a $0 monthly plan premium. Call now to see if you qualify. With a Humana Medicare Advantage dual-eligible special needs plan, you could have doctor, hospital, and prescription drug coverage, plus extra benefits in one convenient plan. Most plans include the Humana Healthy Options Allowance. Get over $1,000 a year. That's $85 a month to help pay for covered over-the-counter items like vitamins, pain relievers, first aid supplies, and more. Your allowance is conveniently loaded onto a prepaid card each month, and whatever you don't spend gets carried over to the next month. Ask us about all the items your allowance may cover. Plus, you could get other important benefits. All plans include dental coverage with $0 copays for covered preventive services, vision coverage, including eye exams, and a yearly allowance to use towards eyewear, and hearing benefits with routine hearing exams and coverage toward hearing aids. Plus, hundreds of prescriptions have a $0 copay, so you'll pay nothing for them all year long. And you'll have access to Humana's multiple large plan networks of doctors, hospitals, and pharmacies. Best of all, if you have Medicare and Medicaid, you may be eligible to enroll in a Humana Medicare Advantage dual-eligible special needs plan right now. So if you have Medicare and Medicaid, call now to see if there's a plan in your area that could give you extra benefits. But now is the time. The annual enrollment period ends December 7th. Humana, a more human way to health care.
$600 a year. If you're 50 plus, you could save up to that much by switching 2 unlimited lines from Big Wireless to Consumer Cellular. So why don't you pick up your phone while I take this hammer and see how we can cut your bill. Call Consumer Cellular.
I am Mr. H, owner of Immuno 150, possibly the most complete and best nutritional supplement in the world, bar none. Now, it has propelled me to 91 years of age and my wife Shirley to 82. Both of us are still cutting a wide swath in life, doing everything we did many years ago. All because of Immuno 150. And it can do the very same thing for you. Try it for 90 days so you can experience the difference it can make in your life. Nothing on the market can compete with the way we blend 70 plant-derived colloidal minerals with 80 very carefully selected nutrients. You'll be surprised if you take the recommended dose of Immuno 150 for 3 months. Place your order now so that you can be with us many years from now. Thank you and God bless.
Your ED could be in your head, but for too long, outdated ED meds have been obsessed with your plumbing, giving no thought to the spark that starts in your brain way before anything even twitches. That's why we made Rougiette Ready, the first ED med that works on both brain and body, with sildenafil and tadalafil to help optimize your body's natural response, and apomorphine to complement that reaction in your brain. So don't just get a reaction, get ready.
Check their new game day fit. Oh, snap! DirecTV got hot.
That's right. DirecTV is flexing with all those pro and college games at your fingertips. This ain't your dad's cable, son. It's couture.
Okay, thank you so much. I was about to say that. It's couture.
Welcome back. Time now for news from the left as Kamala kind of reintroduces herself politically to the world. A pretty funny answer here from Arizona Senator Mark Kelly on whether or not she should be doing so and running again in 28.
Do you think that Kamala Harris would be a strong candidate in 2028?
Candidate, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, she was the nominee last time. I think
you would encourage her to run.
I think she would be incredibly strong.
He goes, candidate, yeah, candidate's fine. As long as she's not the nominee candidate, that's fine. She should be a strong candidate, and we'll just keep her right there. All right, next up, a scary one here. The guy who created the last pandemic says he's certain another one is coming.
The thought that we won't have another pandemic, I think, is naive at best and just not completely unrealistic at worst. So to rephrase your question, I'm convinced that there will be another pandemic, and that's the reason why we have to be perpetually prepared to prevent the terrible impact of a pandemic.
Great reason why PBS is defunded, because that reporter sits there and listens to that and says, well, but correct me if I'm wrong here, Mr. Fauci, but you funded the creation of the last virus that escaped from a lab and gave us the last pandemic, right? That question is never asked to Tony Fauci. He never has to hear any of that. He doesn't have to live in reality. That's the power of the mainstream media and just how much propaganda there is in it. Next up, Don Lemon seemingly doing all these man-on-the-street interviews for his podcast or whatever you want to call what he does now, trying to stay relevant. You typically see him clash a lot with people on the street that he doesn't agree with. Makes it very interesting. He doesn't say one word here.
My kids all up. And Charlie. I'm going to be Charlie for Halloween. Put a hole in my neck. And free Tyler Robinson. In my eyes, that's what a patriot is. Just free him and send him to the military. You're a good shot. You can't deny that. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Not a word of reaction. No pushback from Don Lemon on that one. And finally, Obama attacking conservative-run nations like Hungary and Poland in Europe, warning about the rising wave of authoritarianism. Take a listen.
I've become increasingly concerned about the rising wave of authoritarianism sweeping the globe. Even countries that thought they were immune from wholesale assaults on democracy now understand we're all part of this struggle. I recently sat down with 3 leaders who are part of the Obama Foundation's alumni network to discuss their work in Hungary and Poland, 2 countries on the leading edge of confronting autocracy. People like Stefania, Sandor, and Susanna, they give me hope.
So there's, what, 2 conservative countries in Europe right now that haven't committed suicide by Islamic immigration and essentially turned themselves into budding caliphates. And Obama is just furious about that. A political advisor to Viktor Orban in Hungary slapping back on X, a great tweet here. The left's playbook hasn't changed. Deploy Soros-funded experts to deliver distant lectures and level vague, evidence-free accusations against a sovereign nation. It comes as no surprise that Obama, a longtime advocate of globalist ideology and identity politics, is unsettled by a Hungary that has consistently and successfully defended its sovereignty against international pressure from the past 15 years. Yes, Hungary is not turning into Islamic caliphate, and they're pretty proud of that. That doesn't make them authoritarian, Mr. Obama. Trump talks heaven. Next.
Closed captioning brought to you by MagnaLife Knee Pain Relief for pain, stiffness, and inflammation of the knees.
The pain in your knees is real. Here's what real customers have to say about MagnaLife Knee Pain Relief Gel. It has worked wonders. I love it.
Available at your local retailer. Every day across the globe, big business agendas go unseen by investors. Things that go against your core values and beliefs. It's time to know your investments. Abortion, alternative lifestyles, gender and identity confusion. If you believe in protecting marriage and life, children, innocence, guarding masculinity, restoring families, defending religious liberty, invest with your values. Before investing, carefully consider the fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the investment company. This and other important information can be found in the fund's prospectus. To obtain a copy, visit timothyplan.com or call 800-846-7526. Read each prospectus carefully before investing. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Protect your family. Buy LifeVac now.
Thank you, Daddy.
That was us over 10 years ago.
Now, LifeVac is responsible for saving over 4,000 lives from choking.
In the time it takes you to pick up the phone and call, another life could be saved.
The LifeVac saved my life in 1 to 2 seconds.
Protecting families has always been our mission. I'm sure you love your family like I love my daughter. Do us all a favor and get your own LifeVac now.
Go to lifevac.net or call 877-LifeVac. Order now.
The best investment we can make is in our health.
With our Aquasana water filter, we know we're drinking cleaner, healthier water.
And that will pay the highest dividends. Cheers. Now up to 50% off at aquasana.com.
Big news. Newsmax just went public on the New York Stock Exchange and listed on the big board. Millions of Americans like you are joining our news revolution. Reuters Institute says Newsmax is one of the top 12 news brands in America. 40 million Americans go to Newsmax all the time, and its audience grew 50% since the same time last year. Millions really are making the switch to Newsmax. If you want to be a Newsmax share owner, call your broker advisor or get more info at newsmaxinvest.com. Stand with Newsmax today for a strong America.
And finally tonight, despite delivering peace in the Middle East, Trump not sure he's getting into heaven.
You know, I'm being a little cute. I don't think there's anything going to get me in heaven, okay? I really don't. I think I'm not maybe heaven bound. I may be in heaven right now as we fly in Air Force One. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to make heaven. But I've made life a lot better for a lot of people.
Tell me those aren't the best moments from him. Some fun humility and a little humor as well. Always good times with him. All right, what a day, what an accomplishment we saw today. Amazing stuff. Infinity's up next, and we'll see you back here tomorrow night.